The first ray of dawn filtered through the curtains, soft and golden. Yet they did nothing to ease the storm inside her. Her body felt like battleground, muscles clenched, stomach twisting with relentless cramps that came in merciless waves. This wasn't just the usual discomfort. Her had arrived before time, and probably for that reason, the pain was almost unforgiving. Though it began quietly, almost like an ache, she thought she could ignore, but the timing was unusual, catching her off guard, and soon the pain deepened into something cruel. She hid it from him at first, unwilling to make a fuss, but when he noticed how pale she had gone, he dropped everything and rushed for the heating pads from the drawers. The first option he could think, seeing her in that condition. She tried to endure it silently at first, curling into herself, hoping the agony would pass. But when the heating pad he placed on her lower abdomen offered her only fleeting warmth, he tried everything. Heating pads, warm compress, gentle massage across her lower abdomen. Nothing helped. The cramps only tightened, twisting through her until she could barely breathe. And the painkiller also betrayed her, forcing her to vomit. The realization hit hard. She couldn't face this anymore. He noticed her growing pale, her breaths shallow and uneven. He couldn't but handed her another painkiller and a glass of water. She took a deep breath and tried to gulp down the medicine. No, he still didn't know that she couldn't take medicine, but she was too embarrassed to admit that. Come on, champ, now it will be decreased. He gently patted on her shoulders to cheer up her. She just ordered, nodded weakly, holding up the half empty glass of water, and the next moment bolted for the washroom, the sound of retching following seconds later. Without another word, he dialed the Bangtan physician, Dr. Steele. His tone steady, though his heart thudded in panic. Every detail came out in quiet urgency: the tremors in her body, the relentless cramps, the failed painkillers, the nausea that left her too weak to speak. Dr. Seo's calm voice came through the line. If she is vomiting and the cramps are severe, we'll need to administer an intramuscular antispasmodic hyoscine butyl bromide, 20 milligrams. It will ease the uterine spasms and start working within minutes. A brief pause followed, then his tone brightened. Good news, it's in stock. I'm at the pharmacy now. Yes, got the ampule. Don't worry, I will be there soon. He closed his eyes, exhaling the fear that had been coiled in his chest. Thanks, Doc, he said softly, his gaze never leaving her pale face. The magna of the group, the chef in charge in the military, had been passing by the hospital pharmacy when he noticed Dr. So at the counter, calmly collecting a small tray, a vial of hyoscine butyl bromide, a sterile syringe, alcohol pads, and fresh cotton. Concern flickered in the magna's eyes, and before he even realized, his steps had slowed, drawn towards the quiet urgency of the doctor's movements. Doctor, emergency? He asked softly, voice tight with worry. Dr. Seo turned, his tone composed yet kind. Yes, the embassy officer. She is suffering from acute dysmenorrhea, severe uterine muscle spasms. The painkillers haven't worked because the contractions are too strong. Hope this injection will relax the muscles and settle her nausea. She just needs a bit rest afterward. The Magne swallowed hard, his fear giving way to a determined calm. I will come with you, he said, without waiting for permission. Dr. So gave a brief nod, and together they walked toward Dave's apartment, the Magne carrying the tray with trembling yet careful hands. Inside, the room was dimly lit, the air heavy with unease. She tried her best to appear composed as her eyes fell on the doctor. Don't panic, don't break down. Not in front of the doctor or the bunny, she whispered to herself, steadying her breath. Dr. Seow checked her pulse, then her BP, his brow furrowing slightly before he cast a quick glance at Taehyung, who stood nearby biting his nails anxiously, eyes fixed on her pale face. Moments later, a sharp wave of pain hit, and she instinctively curled into a ball, her body tensing. Without hesitation, Dr. Seow began preparing the injection, his hands moving with calm precision, while the magnate stood close by, his eyes wide with worry. The syringe gleamed faintly under the light, a small weapon against the storm inside her. As Dr. Seow drew the medicine inside the barrel, the soft click of the file's cap made her flinch. Her fingers tightened around the blanket, her pulse racing, her eyes widened. Her voice was barely a whisper. It was shaking. No needle, please. I'm really bad with needles. Before the doctor could respond, they moved closer, lowering himself beside her. His hand slipped into hers, warm and grounding. Hey, don't look at the needle, he murmured, brushing a lock of hair from her face. Just focus on me, okay? He placed soft pecks on her hair to assure her. Dr. Seow rolled up her sleeves and swabbed her upper arm with an alcohol soap pad. She hissed, as silently as possible as the cold touch made her shiver. The magnate stepped forward too, standing right beside her. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his voice soft but steady. Nuna, it's okay. Breathe in slowly, he said, trying to sound brave, though his own hands trembled. Dr. Seow flicked the syringe lightly, checking for air bubbles, then angled it precisely. 1, 2. Before she could reach 3, the needle slid into her muscle in one smooth motion. She gasped, tensing, her nails almost digging into Tae's sleeve. The magnate instinctively tightened his grip on her shoulder, steadying her trembling body. Good, Dr. Seow said quietly as he pushed the plunger down, his voice calm and reassuring. Almost done. You're doing great. When it was over, he withdrew the syringe and pressed a cotton pad over the spot. They kept his arm around her as she exhaled shakily, her face buried against his chest. The magnate held her another hand, rubbing it gently with a brother's quiet concern. The syringe, now empty, caught the dim light. Its purpose served, and as the medicine began its quiet work inside her, her body slowly unclenched, the pain melting away into a gentle warmth, surrounded by their care. Taehyung's protective embrace and the magnate's steady, brotherly touch. She finally allowed herself to breathe again, her lashes fluttering with relief. Dr. Seow packed his medical kit with practiced ease, a faint smile touching his lips. Good, he said, glancing at the magnate. She is quite comfortable around you. Stay with her for a while if you are not in a rush, and make sure she takes this regularly. He placed a few mild antacids and sachets of oral rehydration salts neatly on the nightstand before heading towards the door, leaving the quiet hum of reassurance behind. Soon the pain soothed. Feeling relieved, she finally closed her eyes. She was tired, exhausted. The magnate, seeing her finally at rest, let out a soft breath of relief, a small smile tugging at his lips, the kind that carried both exhaustion and quiet gratitude. He called Tae over, his voice calm but firm. Young, stay with her. She needs rest, he said. Don't move from her side until I complete preparing the lunch. They nodded, without a word, silently settled beside her. Obviously, feeling the warmth of his presence, she immediately wrapped her arms around his torso and shifted restlessly in her sleep. That was the most beautiful response by her, and he was utterly, hopelessly obsessed with this version of her. He gently adjusted himself so her head could rest against his shoulder, a silent, steadfast pillow through the quiet hours of recovery. Meanwhile, the magnate slipped into the kitchen, determination written all over his face. Pulling out his phone, he started calling everyone he could think of: friends, acquaintances, members, anyone who might help him figure out the best comfort food for someone in pain. Advice poured in from all sides, and soon, armed with a handful of recipes authentic to South Korean home cooking, he got to work. The kitchen filled with warmth and rhythmic sounds of chopping, stirring, and shimmering. Within an hour, the apartment was wrapped in the aroma of freshly prepared kimchi stew, soft steamed rice, golden egg rolls, and sweet hot tea. When she finally stayed awake, they shifted carefully, letting her sit up. Her eyes fluttered open, still heavy with sleep, and then widened at the sight before her. The dining table was set with a simple but beautiful spread, steam curling from the bowls, the colors rich and inviting. Her gaze flickered toward the kitchen, where the magne stood with his sleeves rolled up, wiping his hands on a towel. You cooked all this? If yes, then we can't be brother sister. Man, this looks delicious. Wow, she asked, praised in disbelief. He grinned, eyes bright with pride and relief. Of course, you were completely knocked out, and I wasn't about to let you wake up hungry. Her lips curved into a small, tired smile. You really went to all this trouble for me? He chuckled lightly, leaning against the counter. Trouble? Nah, just a mission. Besides, you deserve to be taken care of once in a while. She glanced toward Thay, who gave a quiet knowing nod, and then back to the matinee. She smiled in gratitude and feeling something warmer. As she sat down, the matinee brought over a steaming bowl of soup. Eat slowly, he said gently, and don't even think about saying you are not hungry. She obeyed, the first spoonful melting warmth into her body. The room was filled with an easy calm. They quietly cleaning up nearby, the magne watching with quiet satisfaction. Between the comforting food, the soft warmth of care surrounding her, and the lingering traces of pain finally fading, she realized something simple yet deep: that even in that exhaustion and ache, she wasn't alone. Evening settled softly over the apartment, the golden light fading into muted amber tones that brushed gently against the curtains. The hum of electronic blood pressure monitor filled the quiet as Taehyung sat beside her, eyes fixed on the screen. BP is normal, he murmured, his deep voice calm but laced with the kind of worry he didn't bother to hide. The soft beep followed, her pulse rate steady, yet her fingers trembled faintly in his grasp. She looked at him, those familiar steady eyes, and tried to smile. I'm fine, really, she said weakly, though even the effort of speaking seemed to pull at what little strength she had left. Her body felt drained, every breath shallow, every moment heavier than it should be. Taehyung didn't answer immediately. Instead, he brushed his thumb over the back of her hand. Slow, reassuring. Fine. He echoed softly. You can barely sit straight, and you are calling that fine. The magne, sitting nearby, frowned as he scrolled through his notes. Nuna, you have to take the second dose tomorrow, he said carefully. If you skip it, your body might not handle it well. You could collapse midway through walk. Her eyes widened slightly, panic flickering across her face. Tomorrow again? She breathed, her voice trembling. They turned toward her immediately, sensing the shift. What is it? He asked quietly. What is wrong? She hesitated, the words catching in her throat. How could she say it? That her had come early, violently breaking her cycle, leaving her weak and frightened. That she was heavily, her body feeling alien and uncooperative. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She just shook her head, eyes glistening. It's nothing, she whispered, her voice barely audible. His brow knit together, his thumb still tracing gentle circles on her skin. Don't do that, he said softly. Don't hide things when you are like this. But she looked away, ashamed, helpless. The air around them felt heavy, not with silence but with everything unsaid. The Magna watched quietly, his expression filled with concern, yet he understood. He stood up slowly. Hyung, I will make some warm tea, he said softly, giving them space before slipping out of the room. As soon as the door clicked shut, they moved closer. Hey, he murmured, cupping her face gently. You don't have to say anything if it's hard. Just let me stay. Let me take care of you. Her eyes finally met his, and the fragile composure she had been holding on to break. A quiet sob escaped before she could stop it, and she leaned into him, all the fear, weakness, and exhaustion spilling into his steady warmth. The room was quiet for a long moment, soft lamplight spilling across the walls. They sat close, his gaze fixed on her pale face. Concern etched into every line of his expression. She hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the blanket. They, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up instantly. "Hmm?" Her throat tightened. My flow is heavier than usual, she confessed, eyes darting away. The words felt small, fragile, like something she wasn't meant to say aloud. I'm scared. You will call Dr. Siv again and he will just prescribe more medicine. I can't. She swallowed hard, frustration and fear trembling in her voice. I can't even swallow tablets or capsules properly. You saw that. Dave's face softened immediately. He reached out, brushing his thumb along her cheek, catching the tear that had begun to fall. Hey, no one is calling the doctor unless you want me to, okay? His tone was gentle, but there was a quiet strength beneath it, the kind that made her feel safe. We will manage this together, slowly. I will figure out with you. Her lip quivered. I was strong before, I barely got sick. Yet not this much serious, but after joining this job, it's like my body is just. She broke off, shaking her head as another tear slid free. I keep trying, but I keep failing. He didn't interrupt. He simply drew her closer, wrapping an arm around her shoulder, letting her rest against his chest. His hand found its way to her hair, fingers gliding through the strands in slow, soothing motions. You haven't failed, he murmured against her forehead. You were just tired. Even the strongest people break when they have carried too much for too long. For a moment, she just stayed there, small, trembling, her breath hitching softly against him, and then a soft knock broke the silence. They looked up as the door creaked open and the Magna stepped in, balancing a tray with practiced care. The gentle aroma of her favorite tea filled the air, ginger, honey, and a hint of mint. I made a special tea, Nuna, he said, his voice bright but laced with tenderness. Don't worry, I didn't mess it up this time. Her eyes widened in surprise, a small, fragile smile tugging at her lips. You remembered, she murmured. I used to make you prepare this at the office all the time. The Magna grinned. Used to? You still do. Every time you're stressed, you turn into this scary, bossy version of yourself and demand tea like a queen. Taehyung chuckled softly, the sound rumbling against her as he kept one arm around her. Sounds like her. The magnate set the tray down and sat cross-legged nearby, looking both proud and exasperated. Hyung, do you know what she once told me? He began, feigning indignation. She said, a man raised by a woman carries her grace in his soul. He loves with patience, protects with warmth, and understands a woman not through words but through feelings. They raised an amused brow. Oh, the magne nodded dramatically. Yeah, I thought it was deep and philosophical, but turns out it was all trap. She just wanted me to make tea and literally treated me like a baby, maybe a teenager. She laughed softly, the sound weak but genuine, like music after rain. Taehyung glanced down at her, smiling faintly as he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. A trap, huh? He murmured, his voice warm. Seems like she has been doing that to me too. Her eyes met his, tired, vulnerable, but glimmering with something tender and unspoken. Maybe, she whispered, leaning a little closer. But you never seem to mind. He smiled, his fingers brushing along her temple. That's because I never do. The magnate supported him with a good nod. Drink the tea before it gets cold. They chuckled, taking the cup from the tray and holding it up to her lips. Careful, it's hot, he murmured. As she sipped, warmth spread through her, not just from the tea but from the quiet care surrounding her. The soft laughter, the comforting familiarity, the scent of home that somehow lingered in that little apartment. The magne leaned back against the couch, satisfied, the air around them filled with the easy domestic calm of a family that had built itself through shared moments of laughter, pain, and care. Tay's thumb traced slow, absent circles against her hand, his eyes never leaving her face. See, he whispered, you are home now. Just rest. And as she leaned back into his embrace, tea warming her hands and heart alike, she realized that maybe, just maybe, this was what healing truly felt like.